everybody, it's Heather, the Expat Entrepreneur, and here we are with the fifth video in this series, the crypto mini series that is cryptocurrency for beginners. And today is a great one because what we're going to do is talk about the questions and answers for cryptocurrency. And I think there's going to be a few in here that you don't even think to ask. You don't know what you don't know yet. So I want to go ahead and get started and let you know again before I do that I am not an expert. I'm not a financial advisor or tax accountant or attorney or licensed to give advice. This is not professional or investment advice. It's just information from another person out there. I've been through a few things and I've learned a few things. So I'm hoping to help you collapse time and learn quicker so that you can get on that cryptocurrency treadmill quicker if that's what you want to do. And of course, to help you make an informed decision for yourself. So on that note, let me begin because I've got 15 or 16 questions to quickly roll through here, and I'll go through as quick as I can. And I'm glancing down at my notes because I can't remember 15 questions off the top of my head. I'm going to have to look to make sure we're covering them all. The first one is the most common one: is what is crypto? Crypto is a digital asset that you cannot put in your pocket, right? And it's basically, it's a store of value. And the purpose of it is to pay for things. It's a medium of exchange. And at this point in history and time, we're not yet at the point where it's fully mainstream adoption. So you can't literally pull out your phone or a device and pay for things anywhere you go with crypto. It's starting and we'll definitely get there, which is really exciting, but it's still getting worked out behind the scenes for all these different companies. But yeah, that's basically what crypto is. And how many cryptos are there? I get asked that a lot, and they're growing like crazy. Today, I think we have something like 18,000. A year ago, there might have been 8 or 9,000. Like, that's how fast it's growing. And there are cryptos that fail, that don't make it for whatever reason. They don't get the funding, or it just doesn't take off, or the people move on to some other different thing, or who knows what. So it's one of the things that you need to be careful about which crypto you invest in, because if you want to invest in one of these up and comers, it's a bit of a crapshoot. You might be better off down at the tables in Vegas because you just don't know. Whereas with the higher top rated coins, they're as strong as the blue chip companies, in my opinion, that are out there. I mean, these are cryptos that have, 10 and hundreds of $billion market cap. They're huge. They're like a giant company. And they're just simply not going to disappear overnight, or if and when the market crashes and that kind of thing. So yeah, how can I buy crypto is another question people ask. And there's a lot of different ways. And if you've watched some of the other videos in this series, you'll have learned quite a few of them. And if you haven't, I suggest you go back and watch them. There's 4 videos before this one that are just a ton of excellent information for beginners in the crypto space. But how to buy crypto? The most common way today is to open up an exchange account and send in your fiat currency from your bank to that exchange account, and you can then convert it from fiat into a cryptocurrency coin. That's the most common way. You can certainly, these days at some places, there's actually crypto ATMs. You can go and put cash in there and get a cryptocurrency sent and delivered to a digital wallet, which is kind of cool. But I'm sure there's a hefty fee for that. I remember back in the day when I was living in Dubai, and the first gold bullion ATM machine came out, and it was just like, wow, can you believe this? Let's just a novelty. Let's go check it out. Let's buy something. Let's get something. And it's exciting and interesting, but holy smokes, are you ever paying a premium? Because it's not mainstream and it's just so easy. And whenever anything in life, you pay for convenience, right? If you want it done quicker and faster or whatever, you're going to pay extra for that. And that's the way the world works. And it's the same thing with this. So you'll be getting a hefty premium on that. Nonetheless, it's convenient and easy to do. How safe is crypto? So I should have answered this one before the last one. There are some, like I say, that are not going to make it, but cryptocurrency as a whole is pretty safe, because it's so far along now. It's beyond the point where it could be like destroyed or uh, derailed, uh, nuked by solar flare, or whatever the case may be, or outlawed by the world. There definitely are some governments and countries out there who said, we don't want anything to do with crypto. We're banning it in our borders. You can't mine it or buy it or own it or sell it here. And that's fine. And there will be some who do that, and some who are going to probably stay that way the whole time. But there's then on the other side of that coin, there are countries that have adopted crypto to the point where they've made it legal tender, like El Salvador. In June, was it 2021? I think it was. So last year, they created a Bitcoin law. And Bitcoin is legal tender in that country. There's other, I know they've done that recently, like just in the last couple of weeks in a small jurisdiction in the island of Roatan. Bitcoin is legal tender. In the country and island of Bermuda, if you got a tax bill to pay there, you can pay it using cryptocurrency. Like, it's coming, right? It's slowly becoming more and more mainstream. And I can understand why it takes time for this to happen. It takes time for governments to figure out, how are we going to integrate this into our society? How are we going to put measures and controls? And of course, that's what they're going to want to do. From a company perspective, how are we going to build up our back-end infrastructure so that we're actually able to accept cryptocurrency as a payment, as a form of payment? It's not just as easy as flipping a switch and saying, okay, we're now going to take MasterCard and Visa. It doesn't quite work like that. There's other things that have to happen, and infrastructure that's got to be built and connected to existing systems in order for that to happen. But it's coming. So as far as how safe is crypto, I think it's safer than our fiat currency that we've got carrying around in our pockets, to be honest with you, because that's the other side of the coin of safety and with this currency, because it cannot be devalued artificially or inflated artificially. It can't be messed with like our physical fiat currencies can be, where all our governments do is crank on the printing press. It's not even a printing press anymore. Well, I mean, in some ways it is, right? You've literally got new bills being printed all the time. I remember when I first moved to Japan about in 2012, I remember making a note to myself that every time I went to the ATM for like the first 3 years, I think it was an incredibly long period of time, every time I went to the ATM, they were brand new bills coming out of there. Every single time for an end. It might mean more for you to know that for whatever reason, when we first moved here, we were always paying for everything with cash. So we took out quite a bit of cash. We didn't like pay with a debit card or pay with a credit card or do something different. We used cash in the societies that we're living here. So it's kind of an interesting point to know that. And I've got a meowing cat, so I'm probably going to have to just deal with her. But that's really interesting, right? So when we think about how safe is cryptocurrency, a digital asset, compared to our fiat currency, wow, nobody can artificially inflate it and make it pretend that it's worth more or worth less. It's worth what it's worth. And that's not the case with our fiat currency. So there's a huge amount of comfort personally that I have in that and knowing that. And I personally believe that it's safer than our fiat. And it's also, I think, the cryptocurrency market as a whole is safer than an individual bank or institution, because it's not one bank and institution. And the government says, oh, well, we're FDIC and we'll insure this bank up to your deposit up to 60 grand or whatever it is. So make sure you spread your money out amongst all these banks. Well, isn't that clever and handy for them? It is, much more so than for you. But look at what happened. And I said this in the last video, and after the 2008 banking crisis, how many banks and financial institutions went down, disappeared overnight, like gone, no warning, no nothing. In crypto, you don't have that risk with one institution because nobody owns it. It's spread out. It's a market that exists with all the cryptos in it at one place. It's not like one Lehman Brothers, for example. It's not one institution. So you've got that diversity, right? Which is helpful, which is really, really good. So the next one, what is the blockchain? Yeah, so the blockchain is kind of like the second part of the equation that makes crypto plus blockchain such a great opportunity. Why this is such a great opportunity. The blockchain is a digital ledger, and this is where crypto lives. Every single transaction that happens in the cryptocurrency market is logged on the blockchain, and it can never be deleted or altered or changed. So it's an infallible record book of everything that happens in crypto to do with crypto. And this is actually why it can never be messed with. It can't be artificially inflated or deflated, which is great. So it's the combination of those two things that make it such a great opportunity. Let's see, what's the next one here? Can I own crypto in a fund, like a mutual fund? Not yet, but I know it's coming. Those guys want to get their fingers into this pie as fast as they can. The Wall Street, the financial institutions, they're working on it. So as soon as they can, they will. And that'll be super easy for you to just say, well, here's some cash, put it in that fund, give me exposure to crypto, compared to going to the effort of opening your own account, figuring out which coins to invest or how to invest in it. Takes a little bit more effort. But as I've also said previously, in my humble opinion, I happen to think and believe very strongly that when it comes to your health and your money, you need to take an active role, because people in this world today, they're overworked and underpaid, and they need help to do their own jobs. Do you ever find that when you're out there in the world doing something and you're telling some people, shouldn't you be doing adding this, or isn't this when you put this into the equation and that, and they're like, oh yeah, thanks, right? And it's like that. And if you want to have the best chance at having the best health and diagnosis and having the best financial situation and investments, take an active role, take a stance in there, and don't just hand your money over. I always say don't hand your money over in crypto for sure. If you need somebody to manage your money for you, you're better off in the brick and mortar world. But my next level of that statement is to say, for what's really considered a very small amount of time and effort, you can manage it yourself. And you don't have to have all that money and fees going to this other organization, this institution. So yeah, there's that one. Okay, the next question is, what about taxes in crypto? And the short answer is you most likely will have to pay them. In crypto, well, let me say this, in pretty much anywhere in the world, if you are earning an income, your government most likely wants a piece of it. At least that's been my experience. And there are different types of income that you can earn off of cryptocurrencies. And depending on what country you live in and what stage your government is at in terms of deciding how they're going to tax it, that would be dictating what you would have to pay in taxes. There will be specialist accountants in crypto that are going to be there to help you, I'm sure. Yeah, for me personally, I'm just happy to pay the tax I make on crypto, because what I've got left is money I did not have before. Because when we look around at what are our options for investing our capital into investments, there's not a lot of choices, and there certainly are very few that have this kind of potential with very little downside in terms of how much time it takes and how much of an investment you need to make and that kind of thing. So yeah, and that's basically why I'm here doing this today. But to the next question is, how and where can I spend my crypto? And that's a great question, because that's another one that is similar to earlier on when I was talking about not as many places yet, but it's coming. There is an ever-growing list of companies that are companies who are accepting Bitcoin or crypto, it's pretty much Bitcoin, as a form of payment today. And that is continuing to increase, and it will continue to increase. And the ease at which you can do that will also get easier. And it's probably going to be something where it's just as easy as showing a QR code on your phone and it'll be deducted from your account. Or maybe you get a specific, like a debit card. Just about every exchange out there is scrambling to create their own debit card, and other service providers too, who aren't even exchanges, who want you to deposit your crypto with them, and then they're going to give you a card based on that deposit and let you spend your crypto through that card, through that mechanism in the brick and mortar world. So there are things that are happening now that are making it more and more easy every step of the way. Even right now, as it sits, you can use crypto with PayPal and other exchanges too that are, PayPal's not an exchange, but exchanges themselves that are willing to work with the brick and mortar world to make spending of it easier. So it's getting easier and easier every day. Maybe I should just shorten it up and say that. Yeah, how to pay with Bitcoin. So which is the best crypto exchange? This is a really good question because there are quite a few really good ones, and there are quite a few like no name specials that nobody, well, I won't say nobody has heard of, but are new. And personally, I would stay real clear of them, and I wouldn't go anywhere near one of the exchanges that is on the newer side and doesn't have a reputation and isn't a mainstream. Some of the best exchanges, the top ones to deal with are like Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, Gemini. Those are a handful of them. There's a few more, and I'll put the list together so that you can get this PDF with the answer to these questions for you in a link below this video so that you can grab that and have it handy for yourself. But there are several that are really well respected, and it also depends, by the way, too, where you live on which exchange you can use, because not every single exchange is available in every country. And I'll give you a good example here. I'm living in Japan, and I have an account with Kraken, but they have extremely limited coin selections. I'm talking like less than 10. Um, which just isn't enough. I mean, for the strategy that I like to use for the grid bot trading, I want to have access to way more coins than that. So I needed to get a different exchange to do that grid bot trading with. But you can get a Kraken account in other countries in the world, and they have hundreds of coins. So it depends on where you are. You are going to have to base it on that as a starting point. But once you do identify which exchange you want to deal with and you go to open an account, you'll go through this thing called Get to Know You and Know Your Customer, NYC verification, where they're going to verify your identity. And a lot of the exchanges, that is an absolute requirement. It's just like that's an absolute requirement if you want to have a PayPal account. And pretty much any country in the world, the reason for it is because pretty much any country in the world, in order for them to get approval from the government to operate there, if they're going to be involved in finance and money and that kind of thing, they've got to agree with the government to do whatever the government wants them to in terms of verifying who the people are who are going to use it so that they can keep some control or some knowledge on who is putting money in there, because there's been a lot of talk about, criminal activity in crypto and money laundering and that kind of thing. And the funny thing is that, well, there's nothing funny about that. I don't mean to imply that, but what's ironic about it is that because of that blockchain, because of that digital permanent record that never can be changed or erased, it makes it a very difficult place for people to launder money. And most of the criminals, I'm speaking like I don't know, it's articles I'm reading and points of view from people who I think are credible, but it's implied that many of them are finding it easier to stay anonymous in the cash world, right? Where you literally just have cash, because there's a record of every transaction in cryptocurrency on the blockchain. So anyway, I'm going to move on to the next question. What's the best crypto wallet? So there are quite a few as well. And you can, again, have like I said in the last video, you can have a cold wallet, or sorry, I'm going to start with a hot wallet, which is online, which would be one that would be connected to an exchange that you would use, something like Nexo or Celsius or BlockFi. They've got great hot wallets. And then there are the cold wallets that you can have offline, that are physical devices that will hold your currency for you. And there are great ones that you can choose too, that like Trezor has one, and they have tons, actually, a lot of them. There's a whole bunch. They'll be in the PDF as well. If you want to, check any of them out, you can. And again, it's just dealing with the well-known players in the field right now, in this industry right now. I get asked all the time too, can cryptos fail? Can cryptocurrency like implode and go away completely? And I sort of answered that a little bit earlier, but as far as an individual cryptocurrency goes, yes, absolutely it can fail. Depending on what happens with it. They're basically starting out like an initiative, right? You could even liken that to the initiative of somebody starting a company. And a lot of companies don't end up making it either, right? And would fail in the first couple of years. So it's one of those things that, like I say, when you get started and you want to be investing in crypto, you want to make sure that you're choosing your coins wisely, that you invest in. And especially, are you investing in it just as a store of wealth, or are you investing in an initiative, in the actual business behind it? Because that's another position you can take as well. So yeah, there's some considerations there. But the crypto market as a whole, again, I personally don't think there's very much risk of that failing as a whole and no longer existing, because we're in the digital age, the information age, and it's almost inevitable that we've got to this point. And one of the things I talk about in one of the other videos is the inception of currency, and how far we've come over the years from whatever store of wealth we used to have, and we would exchange for whatever services or products we wanted. And a great comparison is in the island of Micronesia, the country of Micronesia, the island called Yap. A couple of 100 years ago, they used to have these giant stones that was the store of wealth, that were just like basically immovable because they were so big. And it's just so ironic how it's gone from that to something that you can't even hold anymore, right? So yeah, I think there's a lot of safety in the cryptocurrency market as a whole, and in the top ones as well, that's for sure. Is crypto legal? And this is a great question, because some people think it's really dodgy, and they just like, oh, I don't even think this is a legit thing. And it absolutely is legal and legit, that's for sure. What you might want to ask yourself too, though, is are there places in the world that maybe it isn't legal? And like I was saying before, there definitely are some countries that have said no to crypto altogether. And if you happen to live in one of those jurisdictions, and there's a long list online about them, if you wanted to Google it, then I don't know, I wouldn't actually have any suggestions for you in terms of how to get around that. Because again, other than moving, if that's a possibility for you, because it'll be based on your residency, most likely. Yeah, and so who controls crypto? Which is a great question too. And really, I can just answer it, a broad answer is nobody, because it is unregulated and decentralized. There is not a governing body or group or power or company or person who's managing the cryptocurrency market or governing it or anything like that at all. You could take it down a notch, and you could say, okay, looking at an individual cryptocurrency coin, there's definitely like people behind that, right? And if you've got one coin or one initiative that's being started, then there's going to be people there who have a hierarchy and are making decisions and pushing it forward, or whatever the case may be. So on a different level, there are people who are controlling aspects of a particular crypto coin, for example, or who are definitely controlling the operation of an exchange, for example, because it's so interesting. You've got a cryptocurrency exchange that is dealing in a digital asset, but they will be in the brick and mortar world, in the centralized world, as a actual company, right? Employing actual people who, and maybe they even have an actual physical place that they have their business, as opposed to just people remotely working, which is also totally possible, especially when you think of how many people are going to be working over in all countries, right? So it's interesting, but because it's really, really diverse, but absolutely crypto is legal, and oh, sorry, and who's controlling it is the one that we're on right now. Yeah, so there will be layers where there are individual people who are in control of certain aspects that have to do with either certain coins or certain exchanges and companies or service providers. But the market as a whole is unregulated, which is why I went into so much length and had an entire video dedicated to cryptocurrency security, to keep you, hopefully to keep you safe, because there's a lot of ways you can get tripped up if you don't pay attention. Let's see, there's two more left to go here. Is it too late to get rich from crypto? I get asked this all the time. And it makes me laugh, because it's an awesome question. And my short answer is no. It is not. The ship has not sailed. Let's put it that way. I remember back, I don't know what year it was, back when I first heard that Bitcoin went to 5,000, went up to $5,000 for one Bitcoin. And I just thought, that is crazy. I've missed the boat. I'm just not even going to bother thinking about it anymore, because that whole other time when it was doing nothing for a couple of years, I was thinking, should I get into this or shouldn't I get into this? And then it goes up and I think, the ship has sailed, it's done, right? Maybe you feel the same way. I don't know. But now here we are, one Bitcoin is worth 40 grand, and it's been up to 70 all-time highs in November of 2021. And it's flailing around at the moment. We're in the tail end of a crash is what we figure where we're at. And the projections for where Bitcoin is going to go are, I mean, they're quite astronomical. It makes me a little uncomfortable even to repeat them and say them out loud, because they just seem so far gone from reality. But it's actually, Bitcoin has been the best performing asset class for the last 10 years by 1,000%. And if you watch any of my other videos, you'll know that. It's beat everything: real estate, stocks, bonds, bullion, like every single asset class. It's trumped it big time. And with Bitcoin, the projections, we thought we were probably going to go over 100 grand last year. And it didn't actually happen, but it definitely looks like it could happen this year. In the next 3 to 4 years, the projections for where it's going to go are just jumping up by giant leaps and bounds. And it's got a lot to do with the inner workings of Bitcoin, which are, there's a thing that called a halving, that every 4 years it's sort of gets reset, and in the history of when those halvings have happened, what happens directly after that is a bull run. And that's where we're at right now, by the way. There are limited number of Bitcoins that will ever be mined. That's limited to 21 million, and I think it's the year 2140 will be the last one that ever gets mined, because they know that it takes this much time and this much resources for the computer to create the code, to do the thing, to make the Bitcoin. I clearly don't understand the whole bit of that, how it exactly works. But I do know there'll be 21 million, and that's it. And there'll be less than that, because there's a whole bunch been lost, tragically. And there are, so that's really interesting. And when you see these factors and you look at the history of it and what the stock to flow chart shows and what Bitcoin has actually done, it's the most accurate prediction model that we've ever seen in investing. So has the ship sailed? I don't think so, not by a long shot. There's a long way to go. Would it be a good idea to take even a small position and even just hold it, whether you wanted to get involved in a different strategy that you can make passive income? I think it'd be a great idea to take a small percentage of your overall portfolio and put it into crypto and have some exposure there, because boy, oh boy, when this thing does go, and whatever it might be, a couple years, a few years from now, and you're looking back on this video you're watching today and thinking, man, I could have gotten into that thing. And it can be life-changing money. I mean, let's face it. And that leads me right nicely into the last question, which is, how do I invest in cryptocurrency? How to actually invest in it? And what is the best way? And you can go back to, I think it's video number 3, where I go through several of the ways that you actually can. But I'd like to just finish off this video today by reminding you and just saying a little bit more about what I think is the absolute best way to invest in crypto, and that is using grid bots, because it gives you the opportunity to make money 2 ways. You're not buying and holding and just hoping that that's going to go up. You're not buying Bitcoin at 40 grand now and hoping it doubles and goes to 80. You have the opportunity in a grid bot to take advantage of that. If it does go up, you can capitalize on that. But in the meantime, there's this whole other side of it, this whole other income that you're making day in and day out, and that's the bot profits. And if you remember, and I think maybe it was video 2 then, or video 3, I'm getting them mixed up, but the video about the, I think it was then the 3, about grid bot trading. You've got a grid, and in between this upper price and this lower price, that's your playing arena, your playing field. And as long as the price is in that range, you will be getting bot profit day in and day out. During the times when the price goes out of that range, you're just on hold until it comes back up and goes back in, and then you start getting that income again. So because you have those two ways to earn money off of your crypto, when you put it into a bot, when you do it right, that's why it's such a great strategy. And it's way better than just buying and holding, because you're already holding a position that you can capitalize on if and when it goes up. You also get this extra passive income, smart passive income. So I love that. I love that. And let me just close by saying that for anybody who wants more information on grid bot trading, and specifically on the program that I took to learn how to do this so that I didn't have to try and figure it out myself, there's a link below in this video that will take you to more information on Dan Holling's The Plan, that I can share this information with you and let you know how this program actually works, because it is a game changer, big time. Yeah, so feel free to check that out. And if you haven't seen some of my other videos that are probably going to be showing up right about now on this screen here, I suggest you check it out, because I've done a lot of videos explaining how those grid bots work, how the plan actually works, and how you can actually work it into your portfolio, where you maybe only take a small portion of your investment capital and put it into this opportunity. You don't sell everything and put your whole lot into there and think, this is really, yeah, this stock to flow looks great, I'm going to really just do great. That'd be wonderful, but it's way too risky. It's way too much of exposure in one place. You just take a percentage, a small percentage of your investment capital and put it in there. And the golden rule is you only invest money you can afford to lose. And that's not because we're planning or intending on losing it. It's because your mind is free to make smart choices when you know you do not need that money for the rent payment or for that thing you've committed to in 2 months' time or whatever it is. Yeah, so that's kind of why. But if you haven't seen the other videos, I highly recommend that you go back and watch each one of them, because this 5-part series is just full of golden nuggets of information that will save you time and money in your journey to, as a beginner, to invest in crypto. I'd also like to say that if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me anytime, and I'd be happy to, discuss it or answer questions or have more of a conversation with you. My email address is below as well, but it's heather@legitebiz.com. And on that note, I will say thank you again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video series, please like it and please subscribe to the channel. And that way you'll get notified whenever I have new information that gets put out, and you can continue learning, because that's the number one thing that we've got to keep doing, all of us, because this is, wow, if there was ever a changing, dynamic, fluid space to be in, it's the cryptocurrency market. So you got to keep rolling with it and keep on top of whatever direction it's going into. So thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope to see you again out there in cyberspace somewhere. Thank you.